So, I just watched ZOMBEAVERS, the 2014 horror movie, and I wanted to talk about it, just at least briefly, mostly just because it wasn't what I expected it to be. And it's always been kind of one of those movies that's in the back of my mind, but I've never really thought about it too much or seen it. But I was under the impression that it would be something like Birdemic, or just a really poorly made, cheaply thrown together movie. I was actually kind of surprised while watching it to find that it was actually well made to a certain extent. It is pretty competently made. It was directed by Jordan Rubin, and I've never seen or heard of anything else that he's made, but it seemed like this movie was done fairly well, and it has a lot of horror tropes. It's very familiar with the genre.
Couldn't be biting through the phone lines on purpose, could they?
And this movie is very intentionally funny and very much a horror comedy.
We have to tie this off right now.
What about this?
No. Too small, too small.
Wait.
I'd say that this is very much a parody of not just zombie movies, but a lot of the tropes in this movies. I think you could trace back to like the Friday the 13th kind of movies and the tropes that come with that movie series.
Tommy!
This movie is very short, at only an hour and 17 minutes long, I believe. Even with such a short runtime, there was a segment during the second act where I felt like the movie began to drag a little bit. But then shortly after that, it quickly justified itself by just going insane. In the third act, it really gets pretty ridiculous and goes all out, and I think it really salvages the movie with the ending there, just the ridiculousness of where things end up going. You have this reference to Jaws with the dolly zoom, which I always love to see in movies, but this specifically is modeled after the famous one in Jaws, the get out of the water scene. I think the effects were done fairly well, unlike something like Birdemic, where you just have poorly animated like CGI plug-in effects. Here you have practical effects for the Zombeavers and a good amount of gore that looks pretty good. And this was just a pretty goofy and silly movie, and with the short runtime, I think it justifies its existence and was mostly a positive time. And if you don't like the style of humor, this movie is very raunchy, very trashy. It has so many sex jokes, and there's like a whole scene where one of the girls is topless. It's a very horny movie. It's still, I think justified itself and was a overall positive experience. So if you haven't checked out Zombeavers, recommend you give it a watch if this sounds like something that you're interested in.